I'm in Hockley, Texas today. I'm meeting Pamela Perillo, a woman with a life story that is both powerful and deeply moving. She will share with us her journey filled with intense challenges as told in the book Salvation on Death Row by John T. Thorgan. Pamela faced many hardships, yet she found the courage to continue. She will share a unique perspective on life on death row, offering us an inside look at one of the most extreme situations a person can face. Through her story, we will see how people can suffer deeply, find redemption, and show incredible strength.
My name is Pam Perillo, and I have seen from the inside what death row is like, and I'm here to share my story with you.
Thank you so much for this interview. We're going to talk about hard moments of your life, and I really appreciate your trust. You were born at the end of 1955.
Yes.
You moved to California when you were 1.
Yes.
Your parents were Little Joe and Juanita. Can you tell us a little bit about your family? How many were you, and what were your parents doing?
My father was he worked at a factory making fenders for big trucks. My mother was a waitress at a restaurant. We moved, like you said, to California when I was 1. We lived in a little house in Linwood, California. At that time, I had 4 brothers and 1 sister. I came from a very dysfunctional family. My mother and father had some difficulties. From what I understand, my mother was tired of having babies, and my father wouldn't do anything about it, and it upset her. My mother was taking a lot of pills to go to sleep, pills to wake up and stay awake. My father was just working, and my mother was very abusive. She would beat us with broomsticks and extension cords and whatever she could pick up to beat us with. We were very poor. Our bathroom didn't work. We had to pour a bucket of water down the toilet to make it flush. We had no air conditioning in our house.
A poor environment.
It was pretty bad.
Your mother was taking sedatives, and she was also taking what you call her happy pill, right?
Yes.
What was that?
She was taking what they call bennies, whites. They were a upper to make her stay awake, and she was taking Succanol, red devils, to make her sleep. So she was taking a lot of pills, and she would sit at the table in her bra and her girdle and put her makeup on. She would send us all away. She would give us her tip money to go to a malt shop down the street, and she wanted us to stay there so she wouldn't have us around the house. It was just very dysfunctional.
That's the least we can say.
Yeah.
And one day, when you are 9, your mother just doesn't come back from work.
Right.
And how does your father react? Well, what does he do? He doesn't see her coming back. What does he do?
He called different hospitals and friends and was looking for her. She ended up calling him 2 days later and told him that she found a man that could take care of her better and give her more, and that she was leaving. She asked him if me and one of my brothers could come with her And my father said no. And he put us on the phone, and she asked us if we wanted to go with her, and we said no. And so she left. And she left with another man that was a cook at the restaurant she worked at.
And that's the last time you talked with her, because
The last time
what
I ever
happened?
seen her, yes.
What happened then to
A
her?
year after she left, her and this man got in a car accident and was killed. And my father went to the funeral, and he said none of us could go because he wanted us to remember her alive and not in a coffin. So none of us got to go.
Is your mother someone you often think about, or have you
No.
been able to get over?
I guess because of the dysfunctionalness that was going on, I don't remember a lot of happy times with my mom, so I don't really think about her in that way. I remember the abuse. I remember what it did to my father when she left. He instantly started drinking, and then my life became more dysfunctional.
Yes, from here another nightmare started, right?
Yes.
After she left, he started
Yes.
drinking. He also starting abusing your sister.
He was sexually abusing my older sister. Yes.
And tell us about this day when your aunt arrived in the house.
My father's sister came, my Aunt Dee, and caught my father touching my sister in a sexual way. And she took my sister away with her and took her to Iowa, where we were born, and kept her. And after she left, my father started sexually abusing me. And one night when my father was doing that, I jumped out of bed and ran and locked myself in the bathroom. I had a best friend that I was at school with, and I told her about it, and she told her mother, and her mother told the PTA, and it became a big mess, and I ran away, and my older brother found me and was taking me back home, but by this time my friend's mother called the police. They took my father in and did a lie detective test on him, but he passed it. And I think now, thinking on it and knowing more about it, I think he passed it because he was drunk when he did it and didn't remember.
But when you saw your sister leaving, did you feel it was something unfair to you, or did you feel a relief for her? Did you know what was going on?
I really didn't know at the time what was going on. I didn't understand why she was leaving, but I knew it wasn't good. My aunt was very upset and screaming at my father and telling him I'm taking her with me and you'll never see her again. And it was pretty sad.
Do you feel that your aunt should have taken you too?
I do now, knowing the situation, because she left it. She left me, and the whole thing turned to me. And it was pretty hard going through that, because I loved my father so much, and I didn't understand why he was doing the things he was doing. but I know more about it today and why and how and you know exactly. My father was a very sick man and drinking way too much. But they ended up taking me away and they put me in juvenile hall, and then I became part of the system, and I was in 8 foster homes, and out of 8 of them, only 2 of them were good people. I got whipped a lot. I peed the bed until I was 12 years old, and I got whipped for that. And some of them just took me for the money they received for taking children in.
And sometimes you were sent back to your father's, right?
No,
No?
I wasn't
Okay.
sent back to
Okay,
my
you were not.
father.
Okay.
I went when went back to my father. I was put in a place where your family comes in and they have conferences with both of you. But my father wouldn't always show up,
Oh, okay.
so he kind of messed that up for me.
Mm.
And then when I ran away from home, I mean the foster homes, I would go back to my father's house and stay there
Okay.
for a while, and then I would run away from there again.
Mm. And was he abusing you again
Yes,
sexually when you were coming back?
yes. So I would run away again. And
And at the age of 13, you were addicted to what you call Reds. Can you
yes,
tell me about this drug?
it's a pill that you take that makes you, it's a downer, so it gets you really high. Um, but I got very addicted to them. So they're called Red Devils, and it's a succinol pill, and I got very addicted to them.
How old are you when you meet Sammy, who will become your husband? And tell me how you met him.
I met Sammy when I was 13, and I was hanging out with some friends at a park in Southgate, and he came. They had what they call lowriders and high riders up and down the boulevard, and a lot of us would hang out at Southgate Park and get high and watch the cars. And he pulled into the park, and I saw him, and we just instantly connected.
He was 19, right?
He was 19, and he took me home with him, and that was the beginning of my life with Sammy.
Which will take you to another
It took me to
nightmare.
another level.
And
Yes,
you are declared at that time, when you are only 13, you are declared by your father and the state of California an emancipated adult.
yes.
How is that possible?
I had a probation officer who I had pretty much ran out of uh, things to do with me. I would run away anywhere they put me. And when I got with Sammy, I stayed with them. I lived with him and his mom and dad. They would have adopted me if they could. I ended up being with Sammy, and my probation officer took me to court with my father, and the court emancipated me, which meant I was pretty much on my own, released from the system and my father to be with Sammy. And so,
And just after you are emancipated, you realize that Sammy is on heroin, right?
yes, I kept wondering why he would go in the bathroom all the time, and I looked through the keyhole one time and he was sitting on the toilet with a needle in his arm. And when he came out, I told him I wanted whatever he was taking. So I had my first shot of heroin when I was 13 years old.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about Sammy. Tell us about his tattoos, because I think they say a lot about him, right?
Sammy had a gorilla on his back, which to him meant an addiction. The gorilla represented his addiction to heroin. And he would always say, I have a gorilla on my back, which meant to him he had the addiction in his life. He also, on his stomach, had a hand that was a fist with a syringe through it, which represented he was shooting heroin. He had tattoos of 666 on his neck, which represented the devil, the sign of the beast.
First, you get married in
Yes.
Tijuana. After that, the drug will only get worse for you, and the stealing too, and all those two come
Yeah.
together. You steal to have drugs. Tell us a few words about those years with Sammy.
My addiction years were always stealing from somebody, robbing somebody. I was so addicted, and so was Sammy. And we just about did anything to get money for drugs. And we were both in and out of jail. Either Sammy was in jail and I was out, or I was in jail and he was out, or we were both in jail together. It was a cycle of destruction that we were on.
So at that time, you take heroin, LSD, alcohol, all kind of pills.
Yeah, we were smoking opium, weed. Like you said, we were doing LSD. One summer we did LSD the whole summer and surfed, went surfing. We experimented on all kinds of different drugs, but our main drug was heroin.
So Sammy goes in prison for a robbery. You become pregnant and you are only 16.
Sammy went to prison for robbing a photo place. And while he was in prison, I found out right after he went in that I was pregnant. I was 16. And so the whole time I was pregnant, I was going to visit him.
You stopped heroin when...
I stopped using heroin because I didn't want my baby addicted. And it was the first time to me that I had something that really belonged to me. And I was so excited about having the baby. And so I would visit him and he could watch my stomach grow, and he would put his hand on it and hear the baby kick, feel the baby kick. And I ended up having Stephanie premature. She was premature. She only weighed 5 pounds, 8 ounces when I had her. So they kept her in the hospital until she gained a little more weight. And then I took her home and I lived with Sammy's parents. I didn't go see him a couple times when his mom went there. And one day I walked in her bedroom and saw a photograph. I let her take my daughter, with her to visit Sammy, and I saw a photograph sitting on her dresser of Sammy and another woman and my daughter, and it looked like Daddy, Mommy, and Baby, and it upset me so bad. And so I took my daughter and moved out, and I moved in with some friends of mine. And at that time, my daughter was 4 months old, and I woke up and she was dead. And the fire department and the cops and everybody came, and I remember one of the firemen bending down and putting his hand on my leg and telling me, "I'm sorry, she's gone." And when I looked at my daughter, she was laying on her stomach and her little hands were closed and they were purple. And so I don't want to cry.
Very good. Take your time.
And so I lost Stephanie. And at that time, I went in the bathroom and I cut both my wrists. And I ended up going to a mental hospital. They let me go to the funeral, and all I remember, because they had me so drugged on different psych meds, and all I remember
Don't worry. Take your time.
was my daughter and a little pink coffin. And I bent down and gave her a kiss. And my mother-in-law, Sammy's mom and dad, were screaming at me and telling me that if I didn't take her away, she never would have died.
Which is not true, right? Do you
And
know?
I told them to go away and never come back. And I made them leave the funeral. And for many years, that affected me because I blamed myself, and I didn't understand what crib death was or why you would die. And I just had her at the doctor's office 2 days before she died. And he told me I had a perfectly healthy, happy baby. So when she died, I didn't understand that. But my life after that became so dysfunctional.
And very soon I will put online the next episode. I was very lucky to meet Pamela Perillo, and I really appreciated her trust. And I'm feeling that it's important to share her story. I'm gonna need your help because I would like more people to know about this YouTube channel and this podcast. I know it's not perfect. I know the editing could be better. I know that my accent is disturbing. But please put some comments on the YouTube videos, share the links to the podcasts, rate them, and put some thumbs up on YouTube. This will help other people know about death row stories. I hope you appreciate it. I'm putting a lot of energy, a lot of time in it, but I feel that I have to. So please do this to help me. Thank you.